Yeah.
That's unbelievable. All right, guys. Thank God I had Rob here to help me figure this out. All right, we're both in the picture.
All right.
Just for people that don't know, I'm Charlie Savidio. This is my friend Rob. I don't know whether you want your last name out there, Rob, but we call him Cookie.
That works with the rest.
In any case, we're going to be interacting with the chat quite a bit, as much as we can, because I don't have the ability to see you guys. Do me a favor, just go on the channel and make sure we're putting out. Do you see anything or no?
It's not, no,
No, nothing there.
nothing there.
Hmm. It says we're live, guys. If anybody's watching, hey,
Bobby Haskell.
somebody's watching. Bobby, awesome.
Bobby, you could see us. This is great.
Can you see
My
us or
phone
can you
says
just
nothing.
hear us? In any case,
About 1,000.
I would expect nothing less from my first live stream. I figured it would be a mess. That's why I wanted, invite Rob over. We'll take some of the pressure off me. Mr. Brody, I can hear you guys.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, I can see you and hear you. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay, at least we know we're broadcasting. We would like to make this as fun as possible. It's completely open. I do want to talk about the Mission Impossible 318 project. A lot of stuff has come out recently about that. I want to talk about the 9-second Swirlport project. Probably the most important thing is the David Vizard visit and seminars that are coming up. And hopefully you get some interest in that. Rob and I are planning to go up to visit DV beginning of March. All right, I do have a lot of stuff to finish up for the project for him. I had a bunch of thoughts. On, and just today I talked to Rob, and I'm like, I'm basically done on the heads, but it would be cool if we bolted a set of headers on, like to the exhaust, and see what it does. So Rob saved the day. He brought some headers tonight. And another thing I was thinking of, I know in my junk pile I have, it's actually not my junk pile. My Australian customer, I still have his Victor Jr. But see, that's a very ported manifold and not really the same thing as, I know Rob's got a ton of manifolds. And I know you have a couple of them that aren't even touched. That might be cool. Intake manifold for small block Chrysler. Okay. Oh, they're both nice.
Yeah.
Is that lighting too much, guys? I mean, I know you can see me. Probably not. Oh, all right. Let me make sure how we doing on the chat. I do want to go back and forth. You guys, I kind of apologize. I'm very ADHD, so I will be jumping around a lot.
Hey,
who do we got? Look at that. I picked up that lamp. That's for an industrial fluorescent. All right, that's not going to work. If you guys like the light on, let me know. I can get. Can't hear Rob chatting. Okay, sorry with the shed. Hey, I'd like to say hi to all you guys. Hot Rod Ray, Pro Charge Mopar, Mr. Brody, BC Block 02. A lot of you guys are very loyal subscribers. I know your names. Ricky Fuchs, Joseph Duplessis. I like that name. The Shed. The Shed is very interesting, guys. He's very good. Always has good input.
Let me interrupt.
Sure.
Hey,
Andy's watching. That's awesome. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, since Andy's right there, Andy did a great video. I think it was just yesterday on the Mission Impossible. I think I was watching it at like 3 o'clock, and it already had like 900 views. So, and Andy explains, what our plan for the Mission Impossible is different than what Uncle Tony originally envisioned, and some of the reasons for that. And we can certainly talk about some more of that today. I I know my ideas definitely did not help in the beginning because I get wound up like DV does, and you start thinking of all the different possibilities you can do. All right, we can put bigger valves in, put small in. You can go off the deep end, and then I reined it back quite a bit after I saw so many complaints that guys were really upset it wasn't more stock oriented. That's why I told DB, I said, we're going to do the open chambers. We're going to use the stock valve sizes and stuff. And I'll do the best I can with it. And we'll see how it works. Um,
That's
as,
where I think it kind of differed from what Uncle Tony was saying. The video earlier.
to see it.
Right. And Uncle Tony went through a few things, and he was saying he kind of left his initial vision and said, "No, you guys have that," and then the rest of history as it goes on. So we're hoping to get that done quick. But the changes that were made, Tony stepped away.
Sound is clipping when Rob talks.
Does that sound any better now?
Yeah, it may have. The microphones are funny. You have to be relatively close to them. I mean, we can move the laptop a little closer and see if that makes a difference. A lot of these bugs we'll take care of if we make this a habit. Let me just move this over a little bit. Sorry, guys, you get to look at my hand for a minute.
First live, always a disaster.
Well, you would figure. You can see the box of junk in the back. My daughter Sophia's she's away at college right
Bobby
now.
Haskell, you're right. Intent was what Uncle Tony was talking about, and it's good. He was really nice and kind about the whole entire matter. He was like, I don't know who Charlie is, and he kind of freaked out, but he even plugged Tony. Tony plugged Charlie's channel and says, give him a shot because Tony has seen some episodes, and he was quite gracious and very cool.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. I'd rather him not cursing at me.
No one appreciates it, but as New York, I really don't care.
That's true. New Yorkers.
Thank you, Pro Charge Mobile. I'm glad you can hear me now. This is good.
Excellent. A little bit of feedback makes it a lot better for everyone. And we'd like to. You guys know I'm not real big on production. My videos are, as far as production, are a pause button. That's it. That's all I got. If I screw that up, guess what?
Even have that.
It goes in the trash. We have to look at your phone. You have a Droid, right?
No, I have an Apple.
Oh, it's Apple.
So yeah, it's just a one-shot deal. I screw up a video, it's like, okay, start over.
Android people do not like Apple. I can't do anything on my wife's Apple phone. It's funny. Carla and I always fight about our Apple and my Droid. In any case, where did we leave off?
Well, we were just talking about the basic modifications that you were doing to the cylinder head. Oh, and by the way, what is the casting number that you're working on that's going to him?
675.
The 675 casting.
675.
It's the same casting number that came off of the motor.
Exactly, because they cut a piece of that head up and sent it to me. I have that.
Right.
I have that DV chunk, and it's got the same casting number on it. So when Tim was nice enough to tear them off his car and give them to us, I was thrilled.
Right. Yeah, when we went down to pick up those heads.
Deer Slayer, hi.
And for a little bit, you had a set of 302s you were porting.
I did port a set of 302s, and David wants me to bring them up, but I don't think we're going to use them at all. As far as I'm concerned, they don't fit the project anymore. But David wanted to take a look at them, maybe throw them on the bench. Who knows what we're going to do with them? And maybe we'll just sell them afterwards. I don't know. I have no use for them. They have a ton of work in them. I think I got like 247 out of those.
Oh, that's pretty
That's
good.
that's not
Out of the
bad.
302s, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't even remember what size valves I made them. I think I made them. I don't even remember. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Well, with the Mission Impossible heads, you stayed with the 178,
One
150
172,
valve.
150s. Yes.
And even breathe the way they do, I was like, wow, ancient head that was never designed for anything even close to what's
I
being
think
done.
what I think is going to happen, even though they only flow 230, okay, we can calculate what kind of horsepower we can get out of 230 if you feed it correctly, right? Gab headers, a good intake manifold and a 4 barrel. You can calculate how many horsepower you're going to get out of it. Now, that is not the whole equation by far, which is one of the reasons I worked so hard on the Dykem liquid control. Do I know whether that's going to make any extra power? I don't know, but I certainly think so. I think all that effort is really going to work out. I think it's going to hurt some feelings, which I'm okay with.
Hurting feelings.
You know,
Hey, Bobby Haskell, I just read what you typed in there. Don't anybody beat up anybody else for making a simple mistake on a head casting number. Tony tuned in. He saw Charlie was working on 302 heads and thought those were going to go, which was not the case, which is not the case at all. So, the original head casting is going to be used.
Yeah.
Don't freak out on
Jonathan Couchy, I believe it is. He's a regular. He's working on. See, Andy clicks on these and they come up. Let's see if
port remove, put user in timeout.
put user in timeout. No, maybe if I pin it, message pinned. Okay. Do you guys see Jonathan's message? I don't know. I can't tell. I guess we have a phones right here. We could actually watch the stream and see what's going on the screen. Wouldn't that be a good idea? In any case, see if you can get us up on that, please. And all right, Jonathan Couchy. Hi, Charles. I mean, we're getting a lot of action, which is awesome, guys. But I can't see it anymore. All right, he said something about he's doing a 318 Mission Impossible ported 360 TBI intake, which is a way better than the other intake by far. As a matter of fact, the guy that donated the TBI intake, that's what he uses on his car. He's got a really nice car. I forget his name. He's on the A Body website. You're the guy that he introduced me to Rob, actually. What's his name? Oh, my goodness. Casey. Great guy. Great guy. What he did is he took that TBI manifold and there is an adapter. I don't remember if he had to do a little drilling on it or something, but it sounds crazy. And I looked at it and I go, I bet it works because it's a 2 barrel to 4 barrel adapter, but he puts a 4 barrel on it and uses the 2 barrel manifold. He says it runs fantastic. So, another way to get around and get more power than stock. Be a little inventive. Use the throttle body injection manifold. Absolutely. Okay, flat top 318 poly pistons. I don't know the difference between poly pistons. I would think they have. Do they have?
They're canted. It's like
Yeah, I know. I know
the big block everywhere. You move one valve down and one valve up.
Yeah, I know. I know the cylinder head design, but do they have
well,
the valve cutouts?
I guess that might depend on the year of the piston. I know a long time ago. I really don't mess with polys. It's been a while. There was one cutout. I think it was at the bottom of the piston towards the outside. I don't know. Perhaps you guys can correct me. I'm not really a poly guy. I know a lot of the same basic principles hold in hot rodding and just basic rebuilding, but I don't remember all the
And you know what's really funny about the poly, which I think it's super interesting. If you know anything about Chryslers, the poly cylinder head is almost identical to the 4.7 HO engine. My wife had
the recent one.
Yeah.
Oh, 03, I think it came
I
out.
think it was a single overhead cam.
4.7 Magnum that came in the trucks. Yeah, we got
It had aluminum heads on it, and it did
Yeah,
have it had some problems, but the one in my wife's Jeep ran great. And I thought it was interesting that the old Poly had that very similar layout of the intake and exhaust ports, and then they went to the inline LA design. Yeah, the Poly is old. It's from the 50s.
yeah,
And then they
very
came
old
they
one.
came back with that design much later to do the
The 4.7, yeah.
It's always interesting what the engineers do.
Yeah, it's very similar. Looking at it on paper, there were some interesting, promising attributes to it. Following how the cylinder head and the valves around it. But the really is potentially there.
Oh, I think so. It's I'm not completely thrilled about how the intake port is aimed directly at the plug. I think that would add to a little bit of plug wetting, but obviously it works. I mean, if you guys have seen my recent videos, I did a lot of work with the liquid and trying to eliminate problems with plug wetting, especially if Andy does some type of a siphon carburetor. I don't really see that atomizing fuel really, really well, and it may really.
Eric McMahon. No.
Eric,
And the crazy thing is,
I know I'm the Italian. He's not, but he acts Italian. We get along like twin brothers from different mothers.
I saw that comment. I give him all
I know Eric. I know Eric's brother. I think, yeah, Eric's brother, Clark. There he is. Clark is there too. Excellent. All right, let me catch up on the chat a little bit. I can only do one thing at a time, guys. It's the way my brain's wired. Oh, BBD Rochester on a throttle body intake. That's Jonathan. Custom adapter. Very cool. I like that type of stuff. All right. Raining slant six with a chance of cannonballs. Yes, we saw him on the other live. Excellent. Poly 318 has exhaust valve head parallel to flat piston top and Hemi like intake valve. Yeah, that's about what I said. Now I'm not sure if that's the exact same layout as the 4.7 because I've never seen them in person. I've only seen pictures of them, but they look so similar to me. And I thought that was interesting from an engineering perspective. Okay, Rick Kelsick, Kelsick, I think. Do you have any dyno data comparing spray patterns with the layout fluid? I wish I did. I don't. I'm relatively new to the whole Dicom thing as far as going, to porting, but I really think it's going to be a huge step in the right direction. If you really want to get some insight, you have to watch Darren Morgan's videos. He only has 3 or 4 of them on YouTube. They need to be studied. He does an awesome job. Oh,
Yeah,
he
I like
is.
watching
He is
Darren.
a super smart guy. I would love to meet him someday. And I would just sit there and shut up and listen.
Doesn't go
It's
inside.
better to be thought as an idiot than instead of opening your mouth and proving you're an idiot.
I just look around, I'm an idiot.
Me too. All right. Oh, I will bounce around a lot, guys. The seminar just popped into my head. We need to talk about that. Now, we don't know 100% if it's going to happen. David was thrilled with the idea. I brought the idea up because I'm going to be there, and I've co-taught with him probably about 8 seminars already, and we always had a great time. And I figured I'm going to spend between 5 days and a week up there. We should have enough time to do what we got to do with the Mission Impossible stuff, the 9 degree Chevy stuff, and squeeze in a 2-day seminar. So the price of the seminar is $500. My first seminar I paid for, I was 100% satisfied, but that's me. You have to realize David was one of my idols from very young age, and I was thrilled just to meet him. And then I talked to him for 2 days in class, and we just really kind of bonded. And I know David does have some type of guarantee. I've heard him say it before, and I may not say it exactly the way he says it, but if you come to the seminar and you don't learn anything, you get your money back. Because, and so far, I don't think he's ever given the money back to anyone. I mean, we've had guys that had serious dragsters. I mean, we had a guy from Australia, first seminar. I don't remember which one it was. The one that deafens you when it goes by.
Mhm.
I think that was the one he uses. The exhaust pulses are so fierce you can feel them hitting your chest. I don't know. I wish I really have to brush up on my drag racing stuff. Sorry, I'm more into the design oriented stuff. I can't drag race to save my life, and they used to call me the sloth. Terrible. Uh, by the way, someone made fun of me not too long ago. My times were terrible, but I did cross the line miles an hour. 128 or 126 with the show, with the 383 that's in it. So it's not really a dog. I'm not going to say it was unbeatable or anything like that, but it was a good running car. And
It's a good mile an hour.
it's not a bad mile an hour. You got to remember, it's a big fat boat. She's probably 3,500 pounds. It's got gigantic sway bars on them. I forget whose sway bars I used. It's actually got a 1G handling suspension under it. You got to remember, I did that in the 90s. So
That's fun.
but that all works against you at the drag strip. I had problems launching. I didn't have slicks. Um, I have an Auburn posi in it, and the Auburn would not always catch both wheels because the guys were like, "You're sometimes you're spinning one tire, and sometimes you get both." So it's kind of interesting. But I am not the drag racer. Even when the Swirlport project comes around, Stevie's going to be doing the driving. Let's catch up on some comments. Hey, Rick, we have to catch up with this, or I have to slide it down somehow.
All right.
I don't know whether you have to- sorry if I missed your comment, guys. Dimpling process for fuel puddling. All right, Clark. Yeah, we could. I'll be honest. As nice as the dimples work, like golf ball dimples, I think the burr is even better for a couple of reasons. Now, the golf ball is designed with the scallops in it, and when the air goes through the scallop, it gives it almost a tumble, I guess you could think of. There's quite a few good YouTube videos on the science of the aerodynamics behind it. And what happens as the sphere is going through the air, now you have to remember they're calculating this all upon the average speed that the ball will be flying at. Okay, we're operating at a little bit different speed range on our course. But the way the sphere goes through the air, a lot of the drag is behind the sphere because the air doesn't come around as easily as it should have. The air doesn't really come around the sphere as well. It kind of straightens out and causes a vacuum. And what the little divots do is the air, because it has that little boundary layer around it, the air comes back around the back of the golf ball. That may not be the best explanation, but I really wasn't thinking about teaching that tonight. John Lesky combustion video on the porting page. I don't know. Uh, I don't know whether that would be on my screen now. Wet bench is needed to test wet flow, but pricing. That's Deer Slayer. I know Chad Spire had one of the original wet flow benches. He had it for a while, and then he sold it. I guess he figured he learned what he learned on it, and taking up shop room type of thing. Uh,
I heard they
I
were
don't.
mad expensive.
They were stupid expensive when they originally came out, and I would love to get into something like that. If you guys know me, you know how deep down the rabbit hole I go. I would lose months on that thing. It would be terrible.
You'd be playing with that endlessly.
It was really funny. And if you guys that would like a flow bench, you can run this past your wife. My wife says that's the best money we've ever spent because she knows where I am. And I'm out of trouble and I'm out of her hair all at the same time.
That's right. That's
And
right.
once in a while, I get a paying job, which doesn't hurt, right? Okay, wet bench is needed. All right, we talked about that. Weren't the BBD carbs on big block Mopar bigger Ventura? Yes. Um, I remember that. I remember it. The big blocks at 383s, 413s, 440s, they all had a bigger two barrel. I don't know how big it was. Eric, I enjoyed the YouTube live with you, DV, and that was really good. That worked out really well. Andy said to me, Charlie, I'm going to let you go. I'm like, I don't want to go. I want to stay. even if I just answer a couple guys in the chat, really, I am good with it. No problem. Have you ever grinded on Cleveland's? I've never touched Cleveland's. I had a guy not too long ago say he was going to send me a set, and he never called back. I was really excited to do that job. Have you ever worked on aluminum HO OEM Ford intakes? Yes, I have. That's Ricky. Uh, I actually have videos on that. I have two, maybe three, ported to different stages. Mustang GT manifolds. Very interesting design, guys. I call it it's almost like a mushroom type top, which is a huge heat sink, really. The whole thing just warms up the air charge, and it has extremely low rotors. It's designed strictly for torque. It's not designed for probably more than maybe 4,500 RPM, and it doesn't flow worth a damn stock. It's so bad. I think it was like 28% less on the dogleg boards than the straight boards. The good news is if you know what you're doing, you're going to need some epoxy or welding, you can get them really close. And if you wanted to be a wise guy and put some boost into it, that thing would be damn impressive. I think they max out around 100. I think the best I got was maybe 160 CFM per port with the fuel injection. But if you calculate that out, you're going to need bigger injectors just to even get away with it. Okay, let's see if we can get back where we were. 318 Rochester runs a lot stronger than the BBD. I have no doubt. Okay, have you ever grinded on Cleveland? We did that. That was so much you put into those heads. Oh, it was stupid how much effort I put into those heads. And I'll tell you why I did flack about that. In order for us to even come close to the original design, let's say it's 326 cubes and 326 horse. Once it's straddled with that tiny carburetor and that absolutely horrendous dual plane manifold, I also want to remind everyone the dual plane manifold that I did the first one, I actually burned a hole through the back. So I don't even know if that will survive dyno testing. I mean, if we fill the exhaust crossover, it'll probably be fine, but as it is, it'd be good for a dyno test, and it's junk. Um, Play with it. All right. Darren Morgan played with his addictively when he first got his. I have no doubt. Okay,
We got
Charlie, I'm
some
going to have to.
audio complaints going on here.
Audio is fading. Okay,
Perhaps we just need to be
I
closer.
think we
Is this
need.
any better, fellas? Can I have a little closer?
I think when we go too far back, microphones are like that. You really have to be close. You really have to be close to the microphone. Now, there's a microphone icon down here that doesn't tell us anything. Okay, if yeah, please let us know if you guys can't hear us or anything. Please let us know.
Right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, Ricky missed those. All right. I believe the big block and 362 barrels were similar to the Ford 500 barrel. That's good info. Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, you should check your micros and settings as you're fading in and out auto. I wish I knew what those were. Unfortunately, my daughter Carla is back in Tampa, and she's not going to be able to help me do a lot of this technical stuff. I will learn along the ways, guys. If there's any specific issues with this, we will. I will work to make it better.
Maybe we'll find a couple microphones we can hang around our necks.
No, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Can't be too expensive.
Okay. Have you ever grind on Cleveland? Yes, we talked about that. No, I've never done Cleveland. Audio is bad. Audio is fading. Ford 500 carb. As soon as you get back, the audio is terrible.
Oh, right. Yeah, that makes sense 'cause we're moving farther
As,
away.
as I get back in my chair. Okay, so we'll be close up. I can feel my back aching already. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, this is already a success. I was
Hey, lapel mic. That's pretty good.
Yeah, lapel mic was probably a good idea.
Oh, I love the screen name. Broken Tool Garage.
Broken Tool, Broken Tool has donated stuff to the Mission Impossible project already.
All right, my
And
man.
to get back to him, if he has some good exhaust valves, I need you to send them to me because I took a look at my exhaust valves. I'm not happy with them. Now, Andy said they had a new valve there, but I don't have Andy's contact information. But that may be hit or miss. What can you tell us about computational flow dynamics?
I'm checking out.
You sure you want me to get into that? What is it?
That's a,
What knowledge can be gained from it? Chad Spire talks about it occasionally, but not really in depth.
that's a pretty heavy duty topic, man. That's that's
love,
amazing to describe.
I would
Really
love
fun.
to give you my input on that, and you're not going to like it. Something like that, where and I don't understand how they do it because they're done by people way smarter than me. Okay. What computational fluid dynamics is it's supposed to simulate what the flow will do at that speed, pressure, temperature, humidity. They put all these things into it. And if I'm not 100% right, guys, I don't know that much about it. Okay. So I may not be 100% correct. But the part about computational fluid dynamics that I don't like is if the person writing the program doesn't understand exactly how flows work and operate, there is no way that program is going to be anywhere close to accurate. So there may be ones that are out there that are fantastic and do exactly what it says, and I bet there's ones that are atrocious. And that would all be dictated by whoever wrote it and their knowledge of the fluid dynamics as it's applied. I hope that answers your question. Okay. I so want a flow bench. That's nothing. I don't blame you. I wanted a flow bench for 30 plus years. And when I finally got it, I was like a kid in a candy store. I still am. I still love to get Rob has seen. I can get lost on it in no time. And you guys have seen, like with the Mission Impossible, I lost my mind. But you know what? It was a good project for me for a couple of things. First of all, it was interesting. The first I heard about Mission Impossible, I got right on the phone with you. I would love to be part of this project. I would love to have anything that you would like me to do. I would be more than happy to help. I love that it's for St. Jude's. That's fantastic. And and I love the project. And Rob and I were talking before. It bothered me when I was young, but the 318 Dodge never got any respect. And I could never figure that out. I'm like, all right, I know the 440s, the 340s have a great reputation. Okay, and I know the 318. This is I'm talking about years and years ago. I know the 318s have different cylinder heads, and it's a little bit smaller. What else is the difference, really? I mean, between a 318 and a 340.
Well, like I was saying earlier, the 318 has three major drawbacks, but as most engines, they're the same. Biggest one being that it's just simply smaller in displacement.
Yeah.
And if you're going to use the stock cylinder heads, you got a big problem as far as airflow.
No, that's true. They're going to need some more.
Everybody always goes, forms and lines and parking lots and meets and I got a 318 or enter your small cubic inch engine, no matter what it is. But I tell you that, the Chrysler 318 is a real Rodney Dangerfield of a motor, as it, was once said in the magazines. And it's true. No respect at all.
I'm sorry. Understood that.
In today's day and age, especially when Edelbrock came out with their aluminum cylinder head, there wasn't much for the Chrysler offerings, say for what Mopar had and a Brodix had.
I'm going to interrupt because it's going to go past
All right.
Graham, glad you're here. He's my guy from
I
Australia.
see that.
Yeah,
He's
he's
very far
he's
away.
super nice guy.
You guys are about what, 12 hours ahead of us?
Oh yeah, there's something like that. Yeah, yeah. But
That's a lot.
uh,
It's Sunday for you.
probably. All right. Clark, what is Clark saying? If key to proper port velocity is keeping flow as laminar as possible, that's an interesting statement. At what specific point in the port do we want it to become turbulent for cylinder entry? Clark. See, I know Clark. He's another guy. He's an idiot. Clark's a very smart guy. And his brother is too, Eric. And it's a good question. Do I know the exact answers? No, don't know it. But I will tell you a few things that I've heard. Now, it's very interesting because a lot of guys say, you want to put quiet on a bench. He's like, don't sweat it. That turbulence will be mixing the fuel. I thought that was interesting.
Mm.
You know, and I talked to many guys years and years ago, guys that really ran some fast stuff. And the one guy would literally design the port to be turbulent at his max lift point. He said he got great power doing that, which is kind of interesting. Now, some of the things you have to think about is you don't know what the fuel was like coming out of the car. You don't know how the manifold was cracked. You don't know the temperature of the manifold. There's a bunch of things that you really have to take into consideration when you're thinking about uh, getting the best out of your operation. I hope I answered that. You're cutting out at my end. Is it just me? Sorry, Roger. Move closer to the mic. We got to be close.
Yeah, someone said the mic might be down here.
I don't know
where the mic
I don't
is.
even know where the mic is. Sorry, guys. Let me see if I can move this a little closer to us. That way I can sit in my chair without. Let me. I'm gonna lose you for a second, guys. How about that? That one's it's a little bit closer to us. Lean back a little bit, maybe. let me know if the sound still stinks, guys. We'll have to work on that.
That makes a good question over here.
Okay,
So what you are saying is we need to put 318 heads on a 340.
no.
No,
No.
the other way around. But what I was alluding to earlier was 318. It's a low compression motor, so you have to fight with getting a piston to get that squeeze in there. And in order to do that, you need the size bore and stroke. You're looking at least a small dome.
Mhm.
And the uh, the other thing was, displacement problem, just slow displacement, low power, low compression, low power, and the cylinder head, of course, we all know is Kate. So
Yep.
as I was saying, when the animal came out, I, once it caught on, I didn't get a baby that was holding a stock cylinder head anymore. You just cleaned up. Everybody ran to the animal. I went out and I got them. Fantastic. And then, you get them ordered, it's even better. You're like, oh, this is great. And you're like, I lost 50 pounds and I have a higher flowing head.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Why would you use a stock head? I mean, unless you want to. Hey, far be it from me. I don't care. Use a stock head. I don't care if that's what you want to do. But better quality air fuel.
And they got quench on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they got quench on it. Quench
So-
is huge, guys. I can't stress it enough.
Definitely. Makes a good work.
It makes it very snappy because that turbulence when that piston comes close, the air fuel squirts right over it. It decreases your burn time a lot, which helps.
18 for those things. I'm going.
I always thought I never liked that.
Smog here 360s, popular, 340s, with low compression. But yes, out the pistons. You know,
The,
you
uh,
like the old 340s. You still do that to the 318, but you're down 27.
You know the answer to that, right? Spin it faster. And by the way, you know, um, they got there's a lot of people that are unhappy about the way the 318 project is coming along. We didn't. David decided not to use those rods he put like a week's worth of work into. I've seen 318s apart before, and those things are built like a safe. They my good friend Tony Persico, who worked next to me one of my I explained it to him, and I've said this in one of my videos before. I'm polishing the rods and I'm doing rod bolts and I'm doing all this. He's like, Charlie, why bother? Stock Chevy 350 runs 8,800 RPM, cast pistons and all. You have 8,800 RPM as he's doing his burnout. And anyone that's compared a Chevy connecting rod to an LA connecting rod is night and day. LA is like a big block Chevy. It's longer, it's heavier, it's built. So I would have no problem spinning a 318 a little harder. So you got a ceiling fan. Is there an oscillating fan in the room? No, there isn't.
No oscillating fan, just the overhead fan.
All right. It looks like all right. This Roger says closer. I'm guessing our sound is not great. Hey, you know what? I just spotted something. Let's. All right, how do you? Okay, that mutes it. This has got a volume control right on it. Oh, maybe it's one of these things. Let's take a look. No, I don't know. Maybe that
Well,
makes
that's going.
maybe that makes a difference.
Check. Sound check.
Maybe there's a button for the microphone because the microphone it's got like a little gauge next to it. It's just barely registering, which could be causing our problems. I don't know how to adjust that. Sorry, guys. Share screen. No, I don't want to do that. I want to change. I want to change this. All right. Not going to worry about it. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to talk loud and clear. We are using stock Stock 318 valves, yes.
Thanks, Tony Shade.
Oh, Clark is a sweetheart. Broken tool garage. That's right. Ceiling fans can mess up audio. Okay. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, Tony said, let the audio straighten out.
Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. I didn't really think of that. Um, looking at 318 poly engineering drawings from Mopar engineering book now. Intake exhaust valves are equally spaced down the length of the head like a hammy. Exhaust valve stem center lines approximately halfway between center of cylinder and cylinder wall, while he has to finish. Edelbrock added heart-shaped chambers to an E listing old RPM. Heart-shaped chamber to an E listing olds RPM. I'm not familiar with the olds RPM manifold. Sorry. Okay, early 318s had a lighter rod. See, I didn't know that. That's good info. Same as the Poly 318 and 273. I remember hearing that 273 had a lighter rod. Okay. Your mic is around the cursor pad area. Maybe it's under one of the stickers my wife has on here. That would make sense why it was so bad, you know.
You pick up the sticker and
Pick up the sticker. It's on.
Oh, Charlie Brown.
I'm sorry, guys. We just gotta laugh. We'll do the best we can. I'll speak loud, and we'll see if we can. We'll see if
Yeah,
we
we
can
got a
get.
got a slew of people saying much better.
Okay, comparing to cars, it's like a ground. Now you are clear. Okay, seems better again. Sound is back after you turn the fan down. Okay, that's good. That's good info. Yeah, I didn't really think about that, but yeah, kind of like when you speak into a fan, your voice reverberates. This room's got no acoustical treatment, so it probably echoes pretty good. It is kind of funny.
You have your father. Raleigh Truck 318 used push rods and floating pins.
Oh, I've
318
seen
used that for quite a long time.
I've seen
Yeah,
Chrysler
that's good
rods.
stuff, yeah.
Beautiful stock, beautiful bush rods. I was always a little jealous of the Chrysler guys for that.
Yeah, the Chrysler has some nice upticks, and
Oh, absolutely.
you just got to learn the devil you dance with and do the best you can with it. Work around the shortcomings. Everybody's got them.
And yeah, no, I really don't have a problem with taking stock stuff and making the best of it. I've done a lot of engines like that, and usually, I mean, like small block Chevy, did tons of small block Chevys. Probably my biggest selling engine. I used to sell a lot of engines back ages ago. My number one selling engine was my typical truck engine. I didn't put anything special into it, right? Depending upon the customer, would either get cast or forged pistons, depending upon what they're going to do with it. But usually they would just cast piston, uh, an RV style cam, hydraulic flat tappet, with some porting done on 194 heads, 4 barrel, usually a small 4 barrel, maybe a 600 or 450. And the guys that would use the trucks for like towing, and my brother-in-law used his for his lawn maintenance business. He had a big trailer. He's like, Charlie, whatever you did to this engine, it is fantastic. It pulls beautifully. It gets decent mileage for a big truck carrying crap. And I used to sell those left and right because they were simple and easy to do. And then, it's really funny. I had at one point, I had like 8 built engines in the garage with like price tags on. And my dad saw it. All right, these are the truck engines, and these are all really high horsepower. You're gonna have trouble selling them. My dad was always right for some reason. The more mild engines would just go. The really high horsepower stuff sat around for ages. Okay. Do you think there is any power to be had by changing pushrod length to maximize valve lift at maximum piston speed or when the connecting rod is 90 degrees to the crankshaft? Eric, great question. My answer to that would be, I don't know. The other thing I'd like to add to that, though, is I do know enough about push rod length to know that when it's not right, you're changing your arc enough that you're, how can I say this? It's it's still following the ramp on the cam. I'm having trouble explaining it. In any case,
What it's doing is that along the one, you're going to find differences in speed at the tip, and how
it
long the
it makes it
duration is.
it makes a
So
difference how it comes off the first
I would just
beginning
say
ramp.
there's power to be had and lost, and I just can't remember exactly how it goes and where you want to set it up. But getting that push rod to where it needs to be is where it's at.
Now, when I was
I just
young,
can't remember off the top of my
when
head.
I was young, I didn't have a clue, right? And
The good old days.
I remember, you know, milling some heads and decking blocks and stuff, and then you run it for a while, and you pull it all apart, and you're like, you can see where the rocker is rubbing the valve, but it's all the way off to one side. Not good. And it's going to put what that does is it gives a torsional stress on your valve stems, so they're going to wear. Especially back then, I was running all cast iron, and I probably before I had my guide kit, I would knurl them and call it a day, and they would wear out very quickly, and you'd be burning oil, and you can't have that. Okay, broken tool garage. I checked my 360 with stock rockers heads, and they did not have any preload.
You have a problem.
They from if it's all stock, it should it should have some preload on the hydraulic lifter. Now, if you want to be a wise guy and get every ounce out of your hydraulic lifters, there's a couple different ways to do it. But what I always did was set them up so the plunger just barely comes down. I mean, just barely.
Like 10,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just
Like
it like
that's
you
the
just
minimum.
feel you
You don't
just
want.
feel a tiny bit of tension on the
Yeah.
push rod, lock it down, and you're done. That way, it cannot pump up. And a lot of people don't understand. They're like, "Oh, anti-pump up lifters." Well, an anti-pump up lifter is usually they change the valving inside the inside the lifter body to leak the pressure down faster. Well, that the reason they pump up to begin with is valve train instability. You're losing control of the valve train, and when the spring can't snap it back fast enough, right? It develops clearance. Well, the hydraulic lifter tries to take up that clearance, but it can't adjust fast enough, so your valve doesn't completely close. So you can see where that's going to get carried away real fast.
Yeah, the lifter itself is just bleeding too much oil.
No, actually, when it
Well, he was saying about what you saying about the high bleed lifters.
high bleed lifters,
Yeah, they're bleeding a lot of oil.
they
At the
bleed
low
a
RPM.
lot.
You got a problem upstairs. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because the lifter, let's say if it's set up with a quarter turn preload, right, like the books say, the plunger has the ability to move up as soon as there's any clearance. Well, that clearance wouldn't be there if there wasn't a valve train issue, whether it's unstable or starting to float. That's really part of the problem. And that was a very tough lesson for me to learn was what type of valve springs you need for the type of RPM you're running. I had a very hard learning curve with that because what other guys were running, they never had any problems with. Me, I was breaking studs and popping push rods through rocker arms and making a mess all over the place because I was exceeding what the valve spring could do. As soon as I moved up to some decent cutters and some better valve springs, all those problems went away. So that was interesting. Let me sit back. You seem to block the mic. I would love to sit back. I don't have a problem with that, really. I'd like to make this, the best experience for you guys as possible. By the way, we've already been here an hour, so it feels like we just sat down. It feels like we just sat down. So we got looks like 39 guys, which is we were hoping for 10. So we're doing awesome. I've spoken to Rob before we went on the air, and he's like, "Dude, if we get 10 people, I'll be thrilled." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm with you. I am so with you."
Yeah, we weren't even sure
Yeah,
what
I
was up.
didn't know exactly how to set it up. I spent about 2 hours this afternoon trying to set it up. And I'm calling Rob. I'm like, "Can you see it? Is it on my site?" Because I wasn't sure whether I could even get it. We're figuring it out as we go. We're figuring it out. All right, push rod length affects rocker ratio. That's a good way to think of it.
Yes, yeah,
Yes,
that's yeah.
the lift ratio rate changes. Very good. See,
Right, yeah,
this is really nice when we have interaction like this, because sometimes things click in my Italian granite brain. Okay.
yeah, so
318 piston is about 100 grams heavier than a 350 piston. That's good. That's interesting info. Yeah, they're built. They're big piston, big.
yeah,
They have long, deep skirts, which is not a bad thing.
yeah,
But
you know, if you look,
notice all the race pistons are really short skirts now,
yeah,
right?
but that, you know, that whole
Oh yeah, it's got the long, it's got the tall deck, which is an advantage.
yeah, we saying about earlier, if you're going to reuse that stock piston, but we were using the stock piston, you know, it's heavier with the higher deck issue, and we got a long rod, a very deep rod on the ship, so crack.
Mhm.
So yeah, there are pluses and minuses to that particular setup.
Like Dave Lewis says, there at the 318 piston's 100 grams heavier. That's a
Yeah,
lot at 8,000 RPM.
yeah, sure
He
is.
makes a good point. Remember,
Absolutely.
the stresses are squared as the RPM goes up, so that adds up quick.
Both.
What are we doing? you know, I've done stuff like that before. I've done really some stupid stuff.
Yeah, I got straight.
I've polished piston tops. Polished piston tops that look like a mirror to reflect the heat back into the chamber. That worked pretty good. I've painted I painted piston tops.
No, the coatings.
No, I painted them regular paint, silver paint. That won't work. Phony. The paint was like brand new under them after running for years. Crazy, right? Remember
Thank you.
when it was high temperature paint, but you know what? The piston top itself shouldn't get that hot. Think of the flame front coming across it, right? The way the piston is designed, right? It gets rid of a lot of heat right through the cylinder. Put this fire right there. Listen, I'm telling you, the pistons were painted, and Mopar people, yeah, just Mopar Joe.
Like
Oh,
video
sorry
stuff.
guys, I missed a bunch of stuff here. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, glad you're doing live. Eric, what quick pointers can you give us on using flow balls to analyze ports? Good question, Eric. Do you use them mostly on intake ports or on the exhaust ports? I use them way more on intake ports. Do they work in exhaust ports? Yes. And what it's going to tell you is, let's talk about the exhaust ports first, right? You go into an exhaust port and it's got problems, whether it's making noise or it's just not flowing what it should be. You put a flow ball in there, and any places that the airspeed is very high, the flow ball, if you put it in that area, it's going to drastically affect your CFM. Okay. Now, if you put the flow ball where the airspeed is low, you may pick up CFM because it doesn't want that extra area there. When you put the flow ball in it, it takes up that extra area, or it adds turbulence. You got to remember, just like we were talking about the golf ball in the severe, it's a ball, so it does have turbulence behind it, which is what I use flow balls a lot for on the short side. The flow ball right on the center of the short side, and that little bit of turbulence sometimes helps the air go around the short side, and you can tell right away whether your short side is up to snuff or not. Okay, hopefully I answered your question.
Let me step in real quick here.
Yeah.
Someone asked something about a lean burn system before that. Jonathan said it
Yeah,
right
yeah.
here. Jonathan, take the lean burn spark system.
Take it off.
Yeah, take it off and fling it repeatedly like a frisbee until it breaks and disintegrates.
Yeah, I remember
Burn
my
it,
my
throw
dad
it
was
away.
fighting with a lean burn.
Horrible. The idea was there. I guess it worked in the test facility. In real life, horrible. Yeah, I had one working for a long time. It was perfect, and all of a sudden, the car would just cut out, and you just do it over and over. Don't use the lean burn for anything but hang it on the wall or destroy it. It's
Okay, what are the major differences in porting small block Mopar heads versus small block Chevy heads? What areas are lacking in both? What areas are good, if any? Okay, let's say we will take a 350 Chevy versus a 318. Okay, the cylinder heads on the Chevy has a way better exhaust port. There's no question. As far as intake port flow, the Chevy intake port is a bigger port and it has a bigger valve. It's only 23 degrees though, instead of 18 degrees. Mopar's got several really good engineering points that I really like. The 18-degree head is a huge plus. Huge plus. Now, let me see if I want to finish answering his question before I go off on a tangent. I know it's tough.
easy.
It's tough,
Too easy to
guys.
do.
It's tough. Where did that go? Major
There you go.
differences. There it is. What areas are lacking in both? Casting thickness. What areas are good? Like a Chevy 350 with the open chamber is horrendous, but the 318 open chamber, it is better than the Chevy, but it doesn't have quench, which is against it. I hope I answered your question.
It was a bit of a
Yeah.
Mopar string here. How much horsepower are you getting out of your W2?
That's got to be for you.
Yeah, I have to take a temporary stop on building the motor. I have to bring the current block on a sonic test. It's relatively thick. It looks very good. And I got to bring that down. Actually, I have a machine shop around here. A machine shop around here. Yeah. I think I'm gonna have to go back to South Carolina, North Carolina, and have my buddy show block.
He did nice work. That was he.
Yeah,
I helped you take that
Yeah.
short block out of the truck.
Yeah,
Thing was beautiful. He did. That 352 is going to rock. That's got a nice built lower end. You can spin that thing to the moon.
Yeah, right now, local performance.
Mopar Joe, thank you so much.
Okay.
$1.99. I appreciate that. That, you know what? Any extra money we get, doesn't hurt right now. I got two girls at college, and Wiffy's actually out of work right now. So I super appreciate that. All right, lost audio, and I think he said that while you were talking.
Oh,
So sorry about that, guys. My brother and I have memorized and worked with the vacuum lines on lean burn computers. I remember they had a lot of vacuum lines.
yeah. It's just that the computer, as placed where it normally is, it has shown itself not to be very good. Quick note on the W2 motor. Once I get the L-block head set up, then I move to the W2 heads and go on from there. And the next thing after that, once I get everything set up and ready to go, because I'm basically using one short block for three different heads and multiple different intake.
Please move away a little bit. You can come a little bit closer, okay? Because your guest's mic is having issues. We don't have mics, which is probably part of the problem. So we got
fast. The W2 motor. Currently, I'm messing with a 352 short block. It's a Mopar Performance Stroker kit. I'm setting it up for three different heads. I'm working on the Edelbrocks now. The W2s will be next, and I go from there. So
the W2s that I did.
yes, and
Those would make nice power.
yeah, and once I get one cylinder head valve trim set up, I move to the next one, and then I'll shop around here. So tune to my channel and
Yeah,
time.
Rob's
I'll
got,
get there.
Rob does have a YouTube channel. He does some interesting stuff.
Trying to
Check,
get there.
check it out. Check it out.
Just showing off a lot of stuff at the moment. Look at this. Look what I got. But it's all part of stuff I want to dyno and just have fun with. I just like messing around with stuff.
I know I mentioned it very early in this broadcast. Andy just did a video on the Mission Impossible, and I started to explain how I kind of interfered with the project a little bit. Some people will just like get what you can out of the only grinding metal. That bothers me because I'm not going to reuse like stock springs. Sorry.
No.
Not happening. Not going to do it. Um, not going to reuse old stock pistons and flip around. Can we go back on top? Sure, you can get a lot of the power out of that computer, especially fat 904.
904 lift.
904 lifters. Not a big advantage for Chrysler.
So no, I'll tell you that thing. Right.
Problem.
That's just where I was going to go. Which handles a massive load.
Yep.
904. Every last piece of advantage can make a 350 horse motor. Why did you go there? You don't have to take full advantage of it. It's great. It really pays off on the big end, on the high end build. Most guys in the street, yeah, maybe there's an edge, but I couldn't possibly tell you how much power is in there. So, someone asked something. My channel is Rob Garage Experiments.
Rob's Garage Experiments. Okay. I did make some notes. 318 Mission Impossible. All right. We're going to work on. Right now, I got it all set up with the intake manifold and the carb and everything on it. It's pretty atrocious the way it is. It's only 60 CFM. Now that's just the carb on the worst intake manifold going through the cylinder head. That's done. And remember, I textured that intake valve, so that we do lose a couple CFM from there, but the head flows way better than the intake ever could. So it's the really the restriction on the carburetor. And I know Andy will do a great job. His carburetor probably was a lot more than the one I put a couple hours into. But the way I have it set up now is only like 160 CFM. So that would be tough to get our 1 horse per cube out of. Very tough, especially with the exhaust manifolds. All right. And I talked to Stevie about this. He's like, blow the myth out. The 318 stick, which Rob and I did talk about that already, but that was it part of my notes. And yeah, I never got it. Why 318? I ran across a couple 318s when I was young. Yeah. And I had one buddy with a 340. He's like, "Nope, won't even think about it."
Well, depends on how deep your pockets are and what you
Well,
got. Some people are like, I have a 318 and
I already had it.
$500.
I
What can
already
I
had
do?
it. I'm broke. A lot of this, a lot of hot rodding, especially for me, I'm only going to go. Especially after I got married.
And yeah, I was even awesome move. Myself, my eye on
I
that
would have
one.
been retired when I was 40 if I didn't get married. Oh. But yeah, you don't have any money, but you have some free time, so you're able to put 100 hours into a set of cylinder heads, and they're going to run damn good. And reuse stock valves or whatever else you had to do. Right? Rework a stock intake manifold the best you possibly can. You don't have $100 to buy a new intake manifold back in the day when things were cheap.
Yeah, those are-
Yeah, they're like $400 for a crappy intake nowadays. It's insane, guys. It's absolutely insane. That's why Rob is shaking his head. He's trying to build hot rods in this day and age. Not good.
yeah,
And he's
yeah.
building. Leg, I'm sure.
It actually wasn't that bad. There was a couple surprises, but it wasn't anything out of control.
Surprises in construction? Never. Not gonna happen. All right, let's see. 80s trucks, lean burn computers on the fender. I remember that. They had pretty much solved all the issues. Not only that, but you can swap a slant six or V8 computer and they will run. That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know they did that. Thanks, Jonathan.
You're muted again. Okay. I I wish I had a way to change it, but I don't, guys. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I don't see anything on here at all to improve that.
Who do you lose the most?
Who do you lose the most? Oh, as far as me or Rob. Okay. Thanks. Help me out on my first Hot Rod 383 cylinder head aluminum. I've built many stock 350 boat engines. My first modded 75 vet. Watched many videos many times while porting. Thanks. You're very welcome. Must have been funny. I didn't hear a thing. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, if this turns out really terrible when I rewatch it, I'll just delete it. But we got 45 people watching, which is better than I was expecting. So let's see. Well, losing big chunks of your audio at times, Charlie. Getting muffles, except I have a pretty loud, clear voice too. I don't know why that is
When I asked the question, Bobby Haskell said mostly me.
mostly Rob.
It's probably
Okay.
my positioning.
All right. So you gotta enunciate a little more. Enunciation. Dr. Go. I know Dr. Go. I'll be headed to the big Mopar swap meet next weekend in Indy. I'm sure that'll be a blast. We'll be looking for the elusive RT small block heads. I really like them. Rob won't let me port them because he's mean to me. If I find some, what might be a price for complete heads with a full valve job? You can get
I
a
wouldn't
hold.
pay a lot of money, to be honest
You
with
can
you.
get a hold. No, no, because to have me do it, it's going to be expensive because I'm going to spend 100 hours on damn things. So in reality, you'd probably be better off.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just being honest, because not that I'm expensive, but I'm not cheap either. And
Well, here's the flip on the whole thing. They're iron. They're hard. They're hard to find. And someone's going to say, "I got Mopar Gold," and I just
Mhm.
wouldn't pay a lot of money for them. I'd pay less for a pair of those in great shape, ready to run, or I'm going to run to an aluminum head, and I'm going to pay less in the aluminum head because the aluminum head is just a better start platform to jump ahead. So Um, I mean, if they're like super mint and you got to have them, I I yield out 1,000, $1,100. I just wouldn't pay a
So
lot
he's
for
still
them.
going to be putting another grand of course into seeds, which they probably will.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I don't like about that design is the perches are kind of lumpy. You said something about the rocker perches, where the bolt-on rockers go in.
Oh, I think the attaching hardware is a little small.
I think it's
I
for
think
five
it's
sixteenths stuff.
I don't remember.
I remember looking at them when Rob brought them over, and that was the one thing about the head I wasn't thrilled with. I think it's the same as Magnum stuff. Is it the same as Magnum stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Bobby. Bobby Haskell. Thank you.
Okay. Stay right there. It's working better. And you're speaking louder seems to help, Rob. Okay. Poor man's RT is the something Magnums. That's can't read it all. Sorry,
Where
guys.
is that?
It's behind the little heart. We're still losing big chunks of your audio uptime. Okay, I read that already.
EQ Magnums.
Yeah, EQ Magnums. Unfortunately, they're cast in China, but it's. I did some videos on that. I did a set of those for Australia. They turned out pretty good. Think I think when it was all said and done, my 770 carburetor on Ford Victor Jr. going through the cylinder heads was 260 CFM. So that's not just the head flow. The head flow is better than that. Now you're dropping pressure from the Venturi all the way through to the valve. So you're sharing that 28 inches of water. And I'm positive. Okay. I feel the most sorry for you with Mission Impossible. Don't feel sorry. I'm a glutton for punishment. This is the Hilltop Workshop. I've watched so many of your videos. I can't imagine the amount of work you put into them. Like I said in one of my recent videos, I don't think I've ever put that much effort into a set of stock iron castings. And you know what? It was a learning curve for me. Like I said, I only did one other set of 318 heads ages ago, like 30 years ago. And I needed to learn a lot in order to even come close to our goals. It's not named Mission Impossible for nothing, guys. Just by the name, it's not going to be an easy. It's not going to be an easy mission. Okay. Your mic is directional. When you turn towards Rob, it gets better. Okay. I'll aim myself at Rob a little bit.
We sound better
When you
when
are
we look
facing
at top.
towards the middle, so we have two different guys saying two different things. We don't know what to do with that, guys.
I think it's basically when we face each other, we're not so directly in the mic,
Yeah,
freaking the
the
mic
mic,
out.
the mic is well, we may be actually clipping the mic, meaning the diaphragm only has so far to move, and the sound pressure level is enough that it's actually like bottoming out the mic, which could be causing distortion. But other guys said when we speak louder, it's clearer. So I don't know the answer. Getting some decent mics would probably help. Okay.
Right. Jonathan was saying, keep your computer microphone is near the camera. Keep your voice directed towards the camera. How's that, buddy?
I'm looking at the camera right now. It looks like it's got a little tiny hole there. I don't know. I guess it could be there.
Yeah, move in towards me a little bit. Face. So, see how this works.
We're doing the best we can, guys. Okay. Among the poly 318s. What?
I can read lips.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. Hey, we were almost an hour and a half in. If you guys want me to turn this off, just let me know. If it's torture, please don't watch. Do yourself a favor.
Excellent. Thank you, Bobby Haskell. Thank you, John. I don't
Okay.
know how to say your last name. You're breaking.
It's the kind of thing. It's like teaching your first time in front of a class too. The first time teaching, I got a good story for you guys. It only take a minute. My very first teaching job, I was about 27 years old, and it was an adult education air conditioning refrigeration class. And my class were all the engineers that Pan Am needed to re-educate. They ranged in age from older than me to retirement age, really. We had so much fun. They originally walked in and looked at me and said, "What is this kid going to teach us?" And after a week, they're like, "How old are you? There's no way you could have that much experience and know this much about this stuff." I'm like, "I've been working on this since I was a kid with my dad." And I sat through a lot of his classes. So my dad was really, uh, he was a very natural teacher. I wish I could be as good as him. And the way my brain works is if I see a lesson that I'm interested in, has to be interesting to me, otherwise it ain't happening. I can I can replay that and do almost the identical lesson, word for word almost. So that's a little tidbit. Okay, I'm glad Tony you enjoy the live. Uh, it's actually quite fun. I'm enjoying hanging out with Rob anyway. Uh,
Oh yeah. Oh
you know
yeah.
what? I did make some other notes about the other project. Let me just-
Yeah. Let's go through some stuff.
All right, I talked to Stevie about the Swirlport project. This is what we've got so far. We do have a 4340 Eagle 3.875 stroke crank. It will be going to Clark in Mississippi. He has all the machines to make it pretty and balance it. Uh, Clark said he would help us out. He's welcome to charge me. Um, that's not a problem. Yeah, I don't expect him to do it for free. Um, Stevie's trying to get me to use my old 406 block that came out of my work truck, and I really don't want to do that. We have another. My 406 block is 30 over, and it's got a lot of miles on it. I don't know whether we can use it at 30 over, and I kind of don't trust it for this application, and I think it'll probably blow apart. It's just kind of like a feeling I had because that was externally balanced, and it was beaten like a redheaded stepchild in the old work truck for a long time. So I'm a little leery of that. We got our Stevie's got a bite on a Virgin 400 2-bolt block.
Woohoo!
It's a little pricey, but um, if we wind up getting it, I'm going to have Clark do it in Mississippi, and he has all the machines to line bore it and deck it and just do a bunch of stuff on it, and it'll be something we can put some power through. Um, Tunnel ram. Dougie's got an Edelbrock street ram for us. Street ram is a little small for what we're going to do, but like Stevie says, by the time I get through with it, it'll work. I've never done an Edelbrock street ram. I don't know how big they are. I'm going to guess it's got kind of a small runner because it does say street right in the name. I think they're only good for like 7,500 RPM, and it will be a 421, so it's going to want to breathe. Um, Stevie wants to use a Jones Max Effort solid roller cam. It's going to be relatively serious. Okay, so he would like to use PRW rockers. I am not familiar with those, but they are stud mounted. And he's thinking of two 1050 carburetors, Dominators. Does that sound ridiculous for a street driven 421? Yeah, kind of, but I bet it works. I mean,
As long as you can tune them in.
you
You
know,
know what
and,
you're doing
and
with the carburetor.
Andy's very good
It'll be
with
right.
tunnel rams, and
Mhm.
I am going to be talking to Andy. And I've heard his big Ford. That thing idles like a kitten with dual dominators on it, absolutely like a kitten. That means something to me. That means they have the anti-reversion and stuff working really well, and the air is just flowing in and out. Not a lot of backflow, because backflow is where you get the lumpy sound. And it's funny, a lot of guys want to cam by sound. I never liked that. Never liked that. It always bothered me.
Lumpy
Oh,
sound
it's
from the cam? You don't like
yeah.
that lumpy sound from the cam?
No, not really. I
Mm.
don't. I want it to sound very relatively smooth when it's idling, and then when you hit the gas, it just wakes up. Now, you got to remember, years ago, I did only a lot of street stuff, and you had to make it so you could get around town and stuff and be stuck in traffic and not overheat, crap like that. But still, I mean, I was running pretty good lifts and duration, but I paid attention to a lot of things. You got to pay attention to your squish, you got to pay attention to your compression, you got to pay attention to your fuel atomization and so forth. There's a lot that goes into it. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent again. Sorry, guys. All right, where are we on a 1050s? We've got a set of Eagle I-beam 4340 6-inch rods. I'm not thrilled that they're I-beams, but they are the old. Stevie said they were the old USA cast forgings. I don't know for sure that Eagle originally made forgings in the USA. I think what they do now is they buy blanks from China and they machine them here. I'm not positive. If you guys know, that would be great. You could just put it put it in the chat. Okay, DV likes PRW because fast off the seat ratio. David does like that because he knows there's power in that. And
Goes along with the fast right ramp,
oh yeah,
rising cam.
he would like
There's power
to.
there.
He'd like to take those rods and do an X-ray on them. He wants me to do my full workup on them, which would be grinding, polishing, balancing, deburring, making sure there's no place that we can get a stress riser. And then he would like to cryo treat them. We'll see if that all happens. As far as an ignition, he would like to use like a plasma style ignition system. I'm not familiar with them at all. I know DB did some work on plasma ignitions. I get the idea. You'd like to use surface cap plugs like an outboard motor, which I think is really interesting on a swirl head. Think about that and give me some feedback on that, guys. Okay, and the goal is mid 9 seconds naturally aspirated. If we have to do that in my Chevelle, it's going to be tough. Even if I leave the whole interior out,
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm gutting the crap out of mine.
I bet she's
Lighter the better, baby.
still heavy.
Yeah.
Still heavy.
Well, those year Chevys, they rode real nice for a
reason. The other thing he was talking about like circle track cooling mods, and maybe even putting a glide in it. So, that project's going to take a long time. The amount of time that I'm going to be spending on those heads is ridiculous, but it is to prove a point. That's kind of my go-to thing at this point. Okay, you can hear me now. Good, I'm glad.
Oh, you mean
start all over? I'll start from the beginning.
You mean when someone says you can't be done and you set out to prove it can be?
Oh no, I love that. When people tell me that something's not possible, that's like they might as well be a cheerleader.
Oh, it's like I was telling you earlier. I had some guy tell me, "There's no way you can spin more than 6,000 RPM with a cast crank." Yeah, I used to spin 6,800 regularly on my 318 when I was a kid. Foot to the floor and hide your eyes.
And they didn't even complain about it.
It didn't even. I got something for Hilltop Workshop. Beaten like a redheaded stepchild. Holy shit! Oh, you like that one, huh? We got a million of them. I just don't know if they're really safe for this channel.
Well, you know what? I did put this in as 18 and over, just in case.
Just in case
someone has a bad word slip out, which would probably be me.
All right. But, Trust me, we can ride these euphorisms like a $2 whore all the way to China and back, no problem. But we're gonna try to keep it clean and we're gonna keep it going.
$10, awesome.
Yeah.
Raining slant 6. Thank you so much. Would you have okay, would you have or have you done any slant 6 or poly 18s? I never have. I always wanted to do a slant 6 project. Um, I think that would be really cool. I love the slant 6 4-barrel intake manifold.
Which one?
They it looks like a big thin.
Okay, well, Chrysler had
It's got the curve. It's got the
hyper pack
curved
was
one.
kind of
Yeah, I think it's the
was
hyper
kind of
pack.
kind of straight.
Yeah, I think it's the
The
hyper pack.
Aussies came out with the Hurricane version. It was supposed to be
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
The Aussies do a great job with stuff like that.
You guys are not right in the head, and I love
I
it.
love it.
I love the
I
Aussies,
love
man.
it.
You guys are nuts. Zealanders, you guys
I
are
would
out of your
like to go there
league,
someday.
dude. Oh my lord,
I would like to
you
go
guys
there
are awesome.
someday. I don't want to fly there, but
That might take 2 days.
I hate flying.
I love flying.
Oh my god, I hate it.
Everything about flying is perfect. Once you lift up, it's perfect. Going through the airport blows. Getting off the plane blows. Once I'm in the air, perfect. Love it.
Okay, if no RT small block heads are available, which might be the milder bolt-on aluminum head? Well, that's a Rob question, no doubt.
The milder head would be the Edelbrock head.
Yeah,
We're getting a little kind of funny and iffy here because the trip flow is very good. It has a high velocity board.
would-
It will flow a lot of CFM and a lot of lift used with it. Personally, I would go with the trick flow head. There's nothing wrong with the Edelbrock head, not one bit. You can save a few bucks there if that's what you want to do. Um, I use a set of trick flow heads on my wife's Mild 360. It's a high compression unit with 1/6 PRW rockers,
Mhm.
a mild hydraulic roller
Sounds
fan.
good too, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much.
It does. It's a big sound.
Yeah, it's it, it just that head. The better the head, the more RPM ceiling you're going to give yourself.
Very important point, guys.
Yeah. So
Very important point.
uh, I've been saying it for like almost ever, and then I heard Freiberger say it, and I'm like, oh my lord, this guy's on the same page. If you can afford a better cylinder head,
Buy it.
definitely get it. I personally would go with the trick flow again, like I did on my wife's car. It increased the RPM ceiling by it's got to be 500 RPM.
Hyper pack,
Yeah,
yes.
it's just hyper pack. There you
Hyper
go.
pack. Aussie speed intakes look good for SL6. That's it. Okay. I hate flying because of the airport nonsense. Actually, flight part is awesome. I'm with you. Can my stock valve train work on either? Dr. Go, please give us some more info on that. Oh, he's talking about the RTs. He's talking about the RT heads. Oh, I understand the question now. Will my stock valve train work on either the Edelbrock head or the trick flow head?
Yes and yes, but I don't see where you see that. I see
Yeah,
if not RT
yeah,
heads are available.
that's Dr.
Which
Go.
might be the middle mile
And
of both. Dr. Go says, yeah. From what I understand, yes. I've used the stock valve train on the Edelbrock head. When I took out the trick flow head, my wife actually, she's a hot rodder too. She went out, spent her own money on the trick flow heads. So let's just clear that out first. Yeah. I was dating her when she was 15 years old, and she helped me assemble an engine. I was like, keep her. Yeah, you could use your stock rocker arms and shaft. You'll have to look at your push rod. And then there was something else. Ed McMahon. Yeah, I used to have a lot more stuff. I think I was up to about 14 or 15 different small block intake manifolds, not including the stock ones. And I don't keep 2 barrels around. I'm sorry. I don't. I'm not a restorer. I'm a hot rodder. I just love screwing around. And it comes from growing up in a time before the internet, and everybody has a different answer to your question.
you go to the older guys that are doing and running fast, and you try to get your information.
Yeah.
A lot of car shows went there. You just talked to some of the older guys. Some of them were not very free with the information, which always bugged me.
No.
I never liked that. I'm like, if you know something and somebody else wants to learn it, why wouldn't you freely give that? Which is what I try to do on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, especially with the young guns.
Yeah,
or the new guys,
we want young people to come into it.
Absolutely.
I don't remember if I mentioned this, but my daughter Carla will be at the seminar as well. David Vizard was absolutely thrilled that she's going to come down. She's going to do some production stuff with us, and she likes hot rods and stuff. I can't imagine why, but she is absolutely thrilled because she's been so upset that her car got totaled that that's definitely cheered her up. Um, okay, I think I did my bullet points. If you guys would like us to keep going, let us know. It's already hour and 35 minutes in. We got 34 people watching, which is fine.
I'm good. I already ate dinner.
I ate dinner. I'm good. I'm good to go. Um, Run something past us so we have something to talk about.
I'll just finish up with Eric McMahon.
Eric, yeah.
You said I've been collecting forever. Yeah, it started early on. My first intake I got when I was a kid was a Talkie 2 340.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw a LD 340 hanging on the speed shop wall. I'm like, I got to try that. And then I modified it per the Mopar Performance book, exactly as the way they said it would. And then I just kept on,
some of those books. Some of those books were excellent.
It's kind of funny because I've seen a lot of guys trash the factory books, and 30, 40 years later, I'm like, that information's old. You have to adjust for it.
Absolutely.
And they're like, oh, it's bullshit. Why didn't they recommend the Victor over their M1? I'm like, it's also a business.
You betcha. Make money.
Yeah, if I'm in the business of making intake manifolds, I'm going to tell you mine's the best, whether it is or it isn't.
Aussie Speed bought Hyperpack intake from Clifford Performance, who bought it from Doug Dutra, who recast them from NOS originals from 60 to 62. And good info, guys. Thanks a bunch,
Absolutely,
guys.
yeah.
There should be a few of those aluminum block vendors there. So I'm gonna look around and see what's available. I have been saving for years. I'm a bit nervous.
I would be too.
Be nervous. Buyer beware.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy something, really take a good look at it.
Here's a real good one.
Keep going. Here. Glad to hear.
I love this question.
Broken tool garage. Can you explain how to calculate and adjust for quench? Good question. Okay, let's explain what quench is so everyone's on the same page, because there may be some newbie guys here. Who knows? Possible. Okay, quench is the distance between the top of the piston and the flat part of your cylinder head. And the idea is to accelerate the air-fuel mixture towards the plug side of the chamber, because we're talking about wedge-style chambers. The tighter you get that, the faster that air and fuel will accelerate out. Now, I'll talk about my friend. How tight did he like his quench? He's like, they run best when you take the engine apart and you can see it says 0.030 in the cylinder head. That's how tight he would run it. So think about it. Now you gotta know Tony, because he has done his research. He actually owns a drag strip. I'm the best to him. I love this guy. And he did the experimenting, and he figured it out. And now when you do something like that and you're running it to 8,800 RPM, it may have a 32. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. Let's say it's got a 32 thousandths quench. Well, how can the piston be literally hitting the cylinder head? That's a good question, right? The loads are such that at that RPM, the maximum load is when your piston hits top dead center and then reverses. So it's really pulling that connecting rod. That's where you get your extra length from. The rod will actually lengthen, and your big end will actually ovalize. EV has a whole section on resizing connecting rods that they're a bit oval they're on the bench, but I power ran them perfectly well, which I thought was interesting. And
Really?
I actually did that.
Huh.
I did that type of stuff when I was a kid. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Shouldn't
Well,
work. There's no way that can work. I'm like, listen, I would do the rod sometimes by hand. Okay. You better be measuring stuff a lot. Otherwise, that thing's coming apart. Knock on wood. That stuff never came apart, never gave me any trouble.
I've run some tight quench before, and
I like
yeah, tight quench is where it's at. As long as it doesn't, exceed your octane requirements. But
oh,
I've run it so
very
tight.
good point. Very good point. I'm gonna interject.
What's up?
The tighter the quench, does that increase or decrease your detonation resistance? Let's be sure we're on the same page. Detonation
What do you
resistance.
think? Type it in.
Detonation resistance, right? What would you rather have? Uh, uh, 700?
700 lift can?
Yeah, 700 lift.
750 roll even better.
Would you like a tight quench or would you like a Chrysler type? You know,
No quench.
no quench.
Well, I was going to tell you, I was running 28,000 once, and I routinely rev it up pretty high. And when I was taking the motor apart, I noticed that part of that piston looked like it never saw a burn. And I'm like, yeah.
That's how close it was. And you know it's funny. He said 28,000 because that's kind of my mm, minimum distance that I would probably go with is around 28,000 with a steel rod.
Yeah, a lot depends on the rod that you have.
It depends on the rod,
The
the
rod, the
rod
material,
strength,
yep,
the rod material, the RPM,
your bolts.
the bolts, the weight of the piston. All of these things have to be factored in.
Yeah.
If you're using an H beam, 4340 H beam, it's not going to stretch anything like a stock connecting rod.
Yeah. And someone said earlier, 100-gram difference between the 318 slug and the Chevy 350 slug. At a lot of RPMs, that's a lot of weight. Went over that earlier. Yeah, absolutely. A little more stretch there on the rod. May not be a good idea to have super tight clutch to begin with.
All right. I want to catch up on a couple questions.
Yeah,
Eric
yeah,
gave me
let's
a
do this,
question on
man.
4-inch small block Chevy stroke. Is that a bit much? Yeah, it's a bit much. I did a lot of 3.75s, to be honest. I think I only did maybe one 3.875. It was a 391 combination. It might be a touch less than that. But that was really, this will probably be the longest stroke I've done on a small block. And I'm sure the block is going to need a lot of reworking to get all that stuff to fit. What I really want is a split cast iron hyperpack exhaust headers that Mopar made to go with those hyperpack intakes. Yeah, I bet those would be cool.
Never heard of that.
I always like the Mopar manifolds that went up at an angle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the 340s did
The
that.
I think it was the
They
340s.
come up.
Yeah, they
They
come
go
up.
all
I
the
always thought that was so cool.
I always thought the most badass exhaust manifold I've ever seen was the Max wedges off the big blocks. They come up and then they just go like this.
Oh, when they go down, right, right. Those are
You
nice.
got to weigh 200 pounds a piece.
Oh well, that's the problem. You know, Chrysler block is it's got to weigh what 30, 40 pounds more than a Chevy block. It's nuts. Okay, let's see. I have cracked split exhaust headers. Well, not hyperpack though. I think Aussie Speed made some cast iron exhaust manifolds for the Slant Six.
Doug Dulcher did something like that. I don't know if Mopar actually ever made a split exhaust manifold for the Slant Six. I mean, if they did, it went past me. I don't know. But Doug Dulcher did something like that, and that was pretty damn slick.
Tony Shade Tree, he had got a 327 that used to leave the pistons kissing.
Yeah, yeah,
Like ran like a
right there,
yeah,
until it doesn't.
now, remember if you're doing supercharged, turbocharged power adder, that changes it. We're talking naturally aspirated, guys, because that's the whole thing about chamber softening is they actually put a little bit of an angle on the chamber. It's kind of interesting stuff. In order to slow the burn, because the nitrous oxide, it's an oxidizer, so it decreases your burn rate, your burns. Sorry, increases your burn rate. So they actually want to slow the burn down. That's why they do that. As naturally aspirated, we're usually trying to get the fastest burn out of it we can because it's kind of sluggish. Hopefully, I said that right. I'm getting a little toasty, and it is coming up on 2 hours. If you guys want us to quit at 2 hours, that sounds good to us. I think. Chevy put a 3.875 in the 383 crank. Yeah, I bet that was a nice little combo. I think they used a 4-inch bore on that, which is kind of cool. Okay. Quench on aluminum block with steel rods. It's a good question because the aluminum block is going to grow more. Do I know what it is? I don't. I don't think I've ever done an aluminum block.
I haven't, no.
I don't think I've ever done an aluminum block.
Not far
I
exceeds
would,
my wallet thickness.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, someday that would be great to try, but
We'll keep the
I'm
motto until then.
I am a big fan of iron blocks. I mean, iron blocks with aluminum heads work really well if you do them right. And I know I do a lot of cast iron. Cast iron is so much more work than aluminum. That's why Eric Weingartner says, I don't work cast iron heads. I really don't blame him.
A lot of work.
It's not really worth it, to be honest. You're better off buying a better head and doing a cleanup on it, and you're a lot of the way there of a fully ported iron,
But pretty much right now, if you're
if
gonna
not
run a
better.
yeah, if you're gonna run a cast iron head right now, it's because you want to, or you don't have the money, which is just fine. But porting a cast iron head, I've seen Charlie work on my heads, and I was just standing around for hours. He's like, "All right, look," looking back and forth as he's showing me and teaching me, and it was a long process just for a pair of ports. And I was just
Yeah,
like,
that was one.
"Wow."
That was one intake, one exhaust, and one chamber.
It was
It
all
was
that.
hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was also slow down. You're showing me and teaching me, but I mean, it was still, it's a lot of work. Um, uh, you know,
Chamber softening for N2O. Yes, absolutely, because the nitrous oxide is an oxidizer, and it speeds up the burn rate. Yep, makes perfect sense to me. Okay, Detra duals were meant to help folks mount turbo setups on a slant six. A turbo slant six would be a cool project. It really would be. It would be a cool project.
I've got a couple of good running sixes, but
I had one guy not kill that six. I don't think it had oil in it for a extended period of time. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to die." I'm like, "It's making noise. You should probably, check on that." He's like, "It ran for months after it clunking." It was you could hear the rods jingling around in there. That was a mess. But they,
oh man,
it's a tough little thing.
thanks, Doctor Go. I appreciate that. Uh, glad you joined. So you guys
Okay.
just hang on. What else we got?
I hope you guys can hear us now, and I hope this was worth doing. Please let us know if you'd like us to do this again. I had a great
Getting a
time.
bunch of that.
It's 1:48.
All
I don't know if I necessarily want to sign off, but
Let's got a couple more minutes. I'd like to answer James Miller. Why not a
James Miller.
thermal quad in factory intake from 78 318? Do you mean on the Mission Impossible project or just in general for hot rodding? Because I do like the thermal quad for a street strip. The Quadrojet's fine too. Um, they work really good with mild and small cams. The factory intake is not a bad part for a factory intake, and you could use those just fine. But if it's for the Mission Impossible thing, I don't know what they have in store. Do you know what they have in store? They weren't really.
I'm sorry. I was reading a question.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get your full question.
Do you know what 4 barrels Mission Impossible will be dynoed with?
I don't. I don't. I mean, I suggested to David after he beats on the open chambers with the three intakes that I did. I would love to see And I mentioned it on Andy's latest video that I would love to see. Let's say if Andy or DV could call up, let's say Edelbrock, right? I would love to see a Performer RPM air gap on it. I would love to see a Victor Jr. on it, and I would love to see a tunnel ram on it with the open chambers. And you know, it's funny. I was talking to Stevie about it, and I'm like, if we can get 110% volumetric efficiency, and we're already at 230 CFM, right? Think about that. How much power could you make with those tiny valves? Now, remember, anytime you're trying to get it done with a tiny valve, the airspeed around the periphery of the valve goes up versus a big valve. That can be advantageous in a couple of ways, especially if you have fuel issues, right? If your fuel isn't really atomized really well, the smaller valve would probably be an advantage. It's just something to think about. Okay, please do a live again. Dr. Go. Glad you enjoyed it. I appreciate cast iron work you do. I do engine restorations, and being able to improve the performance of factory castings is beneficial. That is JD Vintage Auto. I bet you get some cool projects. I'm glad I could help out a little bit on that.
Nothing like enhancing what appears to be stock.
You know what? I
Even
used
if
I
it's
used
just
to
a
say
little,
that to a lot of people.
why
You know
not?
what? It's funny. I did a very mild build. My very first girlfriend had a 65 Impala SS, which I wound up getting it at a later date, and the engine was really starting to get tired. We
Wait a
went for a
minute, wait a
trip.
minute. You got your girlfriend's Impala,
I had one. I had it for a
and you got
while.
rid of your girlfriend, dude.
No, she's still a
Home
pain.
run.
She's still a pain. I was dating her in '82. She's still a pain.
Are you
Okay.
married to her?
No, I'm not married to her, but she still bugs me constantly.
Oh, okay.
She makes fun of me. You know how it is. Things haven't really changed.
I'm like, had a girlfriend,
No,
school.
no,
Had an Impala, school. Got the Impala, home run. Got rid of the girlfriend, grand slam.
well, that 327 was a 300 horsepower in that car, and I didn't go off the deep end rebuilding it. I don't even remember if I put forged pistons in. I think I did. I did the rods. I did the rod bolts.
That was a
I
nice
didn't.
motor, that
I
327.
didn't go. I didn't go ballistic on the rods. I don't think I ground and polished them. I don't remember because it wasn't that high an output setup, and I did like one step hotter than the original 300 horse cam, which is very mild. I remember I did some work to the cast iron intake, and that had a different carburetor. It was only like a 585 carburetor. I don't remember. I think it was a Carter.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
I
That was
think it was a
the early
Carter.
327s. You can find Carters on like Corvettes, and
Uh-huh.
back in the day, the early Chevys had them quite a bit.
And I took the original Fuelies and I ported them out. I used the original valves. I upgraded the valve springs. That thing in a giant boat with a glide would RPM and pull like an absolute demon. And I'm like, very young, and I'm like, wow, it made such a big difference. $50, Dr. Go. You are
Back to God.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Huge. Thank you very much.
Um,
Unbelievable.
off track. What was I saying? Oh
Yeah,
my God.
327 mild
You have
words.
no
Thank you
idea
so
what's going on in this tiny mind. It's
much.
terrible.
I think you made your point though, because you had worked up that 327
That
very mildly,
327,
and she really wanted for
you know, I thought it was,
You're right, Tony Sadri. Could have very well been an AVS.
yes.
I know
Oh,
some of the earlier Chevys and Buicks had AFBs, very tiny. You could find dual quad AFBs on like the Nailhead Buicks. That's how they got the engine to perform really well because Carter made very small carburetors. Even the four barrels back in the day, the WCFB, the early AFBs, 5 600 carb. That was it. That's all they did. You didn't come out with a 750 too much later.
okay. James Miller, Mission Impossible with the factory 318 thermoquad. You know what, guys? I have an idea. We're getting out of here beginning of March. If you guys want to scrape together some donations and get us that style intake manifold and that style carb, I know a guy that can rebuild the carb. And if you get it to me early enough, might be able to do a little work on the intake. Just as it's just a thought. And Andy's looking for a tunnel ram. So if somebody has a Mopar tunnel ram that'll fit on that,
Andy from Unity or Andy Jeffy
Andy from Unity
is looking for a Mopar tunnel ram.
with a 318 Mission Impossible. He wants to bolt it right on the iron heads.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah, but you're not going to get it back. That's the problem.
Yeah, the state of my closet.
If it goes to DB's house, it ain't coming back. So I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. It's not nice. But David's always been good to me.
That's right, Bobby Haskell, tunnel ram.
Yeah,
You know
a tunnel ram on the 318 with those worked up heads will be surprising, I bet. Oh, somebody asked exactly what size cam I think it's going to need, and I said it on David Vizor's live. I think it's going to need around 235 duration at 50. I think it's going to need 600 lift. I think it's going to need about 109 lobe center. Lobe center.
I'll say.
LNFA.
Oops.
I need to eat before I do a live. My blood sugar drops. I cannot access a file. It's terrible. But and I think with the correct valve springs, even though they're big, heavy valves, it will spin 8,000 no problem. Remember, guys have been spinning big block Chevys with 3/8 stems that hard for a long period of time. So I have no doubt that those little Mopar heads will really hurt some feelings. Okay, so no 4-barrel on Mission Impossible. No, Broken Tool Garage, that's not true. Phase 2 will have a 4-barrel on. We're trying to crank that up even more, but I don't know whether David is going to cough the extra bucks up for the dyno time. That may be part of the equation. Okay. It also depends on the interest. If people are interested, it makes him want to do it. So if they will probably have a live either tomorrow or next Sunday. I don't know if I'll be on it or not, but I'd love to be. Write it in the chat. I know Andy reads it all. Okay. Predator carb. Interesting design. I never liked it. Strictly a high RPM deal as far as I'm concerned. Sold a set of thermoquads a few years ago. Okay. I've also been looking for a Carter 3083S AFB, which was the same listing number as the Hyperpack carb, 400 CFM. 400 CFM on a slant 6, I can see that working.
3083 is a very old carburetor. Good luck in your hunting, dude. That's gonna be a little hard to find. Keep beating the bushes.
Graham, I do have your manifold in the garage still because we haven't shipped it out. I'm thinking. I was thinking of doing that on the bench and seeing how it did, but I'm also thinking of grabbing a more of a stocker single plane. It depends. What happens. I get too involved and then I can't.
You can't focus.
I can't focus and I have a limited amount of time before we're heading out. So can't give you an honest answer on that. Sorry. You guys are great teachers. Well, teaching is an interesting thing, and not everyone can do it. I've met a lot of very intelligent people that can't teach worth a damn. I mean, it's hard to even know follow what the guy's saying. And he's brilliant. He's done, inventions and all kinds of things, but
everything is delivery and how you deliver it and how you word it. Because if you, like you said, a brilliant guy can just run everything right off the top of his. If you don't fully understand what's being spoken to you, you're done.
And then the student is like, well, I don't understand, and then sometimes they have zero patience because
that's hard.
That sometimes goes with the IQ, by the way. They have zero patience for regular people. And
I did a lot of on-the-job training when I
oh
was
yeah,
working at the
oh yeah,
railroad, and sometimes I'd have some trainees come through and request me over and over and
yeah.
say I want to be with Bobby for my duration of while I'm here. I'm really learning stuff, and it helps when the other person wants to learn. And I've had other people just outright curse me out and stomp their feet, and I'm like, hey, you know what, I'm just not your
Listen,
flavor. Try
listen.
yours.
You're never going to make everybody happy. Like Mission Impossible, there's no way we can make everybody happy. Sorry. We did take our own step on it. I see Tom Muse is in the chat. Hey, Tom, glad you're here. Please give us some input. Um, Tom, if you don't know Tom, Tom is approaching Target. He has some very interesting videos. Please check him out. Um, Tom gave me some real um, I don't know. Wasn't happy with me when I first started, but I think he's warming up. I think he's warming up at this point.
Really, he's not a bad guy.
He's a very smart guy, and David does know him because he spoke about him at one of the seminars once. So, and I remembered the name.
And he's talking about Tom, you're saying.
Talking about Tom Hughes, yeah. Okay, doing a good job. Thank you. Yeah. All right. 395 CFM Holly works perfect for a 225 slant six.
That's pretty good. Should work very well. Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think it'll work great. Rochester Quadrajet. I've done some work on quadrajets. They're kind of a pain. They have rods and hangers and adjustable cams and stuff, but you can get some good performance out of a Rochester. And believe me, I'm not a carb guy. I'm sure there are guys that
Rochester's
can.
pretty good, man.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there are guys that can set up a Rochester that will really, really make some excellent power. And remember, uh, quadrajets came up to 800 CFM. You get one off a Cadillac or a big block Chevy, sometimes they're 800 CFM. I had a bunch of them. I got nice money for them when I moved
Yeah.
out of New York. We
Yeah.
had to sell a lot of stuff. What a sin.
Yeah, I give a lot of my stuff
Oh,
away.
you know what was funny? While you were talking about how much Rob has collected, when I moved out of my mom's house when I was a baby, I can't even tell you how many truckloads of engine parts came with me. It was terrible. My poor friends were like, "How many of these things do we have to carry?" Because it was all iron. Everything was
I
iron.
was just gonna say, especially like cast iron shit.
Crank
Yeah, they're
shafts,
like
engine blocks.
carry a lot of weight. Not
I
a
had,
lot, a lot, a lot
oh
of
my
weight.
God! At one point, I had 12 cases, 12 milk cases. That's how insane I am. I still have, I think, four. I think I have 4 cases of connecting rods in my storage unit at this point. It's
You got a nice storage unit.
It's
Man.
it's a big storage unit. Rob has been there. He's like, oh my
Yeah, I
God.
walked in, I was like,
Yeah, it's insane. And
I
I
don't
need I
often
need
get
to
that.
start going through it piece by piece because
I've walked into a couple
it's too
impressive
much.
places, and there's
It's
there's
too
only been like
much.
2 other places I walked in and like completely swallowed my tongue. Oh, wow. So get some more quadrants.
My favorite carburetor. Okay.
Yeah, I really like a good spread bore for a street machine.
Oh, spreadboard is sweet on the street
Yeah,
because
I
you're
like it.
you're usually cruising around on those little tiny
Yeah, yeah.
and you know what? It's good on gas.
Yeah.
A Rochester Quadrajet, if you take a look at how it's designed, I think it has 3 or 4 Venturis in the primaries. It's like a little tiny Venturi and then a little bit bigger Venturi around it and a little bit bigger Venturi around it. And what they're doing is every Venturi speeds up the airstream, so it's going to drop the pressure, which anytime you drop the pressure around a volatile liquid, it's going to cause it to boil or change states, which is what you want. You want it to be the smallest particles of fuel, so it mixes with the air better, so you get a better burn. So I always like that about quadri-jets.
Yeah, you find out with the thermal quad. I know once you get a good one, you learn your way around them. The spread bores are really good. Yeah, I'm sure you can make more power with a proper Holly, but for a you know for a bolted on, set it, get it, set it, forget it kind of thing.
Mhm.
Stock carburetor is actually not a bad deal.
No, not at
Yeah.
all.
they have their limitations like everything else. You start putting that big cam in, yeah, ball game changes. So, all right,
No doubt.
yeah.
All right, guys, we're over 2 hours.
Yeah, I just want to say I noticed a couple thank yous about us teaching, talking. It was an absolute pleasure joining Charlie tonight. He called me up.
We had a
Said,
great time.
"Hey," I
Great
was
time.
like, "Sure, come on over."
I
Absolutely,
just I just had him here, so if it was a complete failure, I can blame him.
Why not? Blame the other guy on the side.
Well,
It's all good.
actually, I'm probably uglier than him, but it's all right. I don't really care. You know what? It didn't matter that I was ugly. I had a fat wallet when I was younger at one point, and that made a big difference.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this
All
up.
right,
Get
guys.
something to eat. Uh, Gentlemen, absolutely pleasure. Glad you joined.
This
This
was
was great.
better than I expected. I thank you guys so much. Uh, please, I don't know. I don't have any videos in the hopper, so I may not even get anything out this weekend. But take a look at some of the stuff I've done recently. Some of them have been very popular. I mean, ridiculously popular. The one where I put the texture on the intake valve, I can't believe how many hits that's got. And you know what? I should mention, even though it's all the way at the end of the video, I think I'm probably going to hit a million views by maybe tomorrow or the next day. And I'd like to thank everyone that's watched because
Yeah,
that's
buddy.
kind of nice.
Yeah.
The channel is way more than I ever expected it to be, and it's been a very good experience. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with us and taking your time and enjoying it. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good night.
Take care, guys.
There we go.